Welcome everyone to Daf Yomi, 1 week at a time. This is Masechet Menachot, and today is our fifth class. Today we are going to be reviewing Daf 31 through 37. Okay. We are going to continue discussing we're going to continue discussing what we were talking about beforehand, in terms of in terms of writing a Sefer Torah and then a mezuzah. And then we are going to move on to the topic of tefillin. So first, let's continue on. Okay, so the Gemara on Daf 31 talks about okay, so we're actually going a little off topic, and we were talking about writing a Sefer Torah, but then Daf 31 discusses different laws that Rav Shimon Shazuri said, and they are attributed to him. And the Gemara talks about various laws about different topics. So one topic is about impurity. Another topic is about oil, and when it becomes impure, excuse me, one opinion is that it always becomes what's called a rishon, right? A primary degree, like a first degree of impurity. It doesn't matter what level it was before or what it touched, but it always becomes a first degree of impurity. Another issue is talking about a mixture of food or fruit or produce that was not, that they didn't take off trumot and masrot, again, the tithes that are meant to be given to the Leviim and the Kohanim. And two types of produce were mixed. One was already the trumot and masrot was taken. The other, it wasn't. And then they said, what should we do? So the answer was to go and buy dmai. Dmai is produce that's bought from what's called an am haaretz. If you remember, am haaretz literally means right, the people of the land, but it means Jews that are less affiliated with Judaism. And here, their produce, it's called dmai, which means that we're not sure if they took off the proper trumot and masrot or not. Generally, the am haaretz, these people are not necessarily very careful about certain laws, and therefore, when you add that to this mixture, then you can take off your trumot and masrot, and then it would be okay. And then the Gemara discusses, well, do we say that a majority of the am haaretz, of these people, again, the regular unaffiliated people, do we say the majority of them do take off maaser? And is that the case? Or do we say, no, actually we say that they actually generally do not take maaser, and therefore it does need to be taken off after you buy this produce. Okay, and then the Gemara finishes that idea by saying that anytime you quote Rav Shimon Shazuri, the law is according to him. Now, back to our writing a Sefer Torah. The Gemara says that if there is a tear in the parchment and it goes down into 2 lines of writing, so then you can sew it up. And if not, then, if it goes further, you cannot sew it up. If you are going to sew it, it needs to be sewn with gidim, with the sinews of the animal. You cannot use thread. If the tear is in between columns or in between lines, can it be sewn? And the Gemara says, teku. Okay, let's go to the mezuzah. The mezuzah is written with 2 words. If a mezuzah was written with 2 words on a line, on each line, it would be valid. And then, okay, hold on. I have a lot of pictures to share with you today. Hold on 1 minute. Oh, but that is not the picture that I wanted to share. Minute. Hold on. Please. And no, I think I do not have this picture anymore. Okay, let's hold off for a minute. Wait 1 second. Let me just see if I see the picture. Okay, no, okay, so we're gonna leave this picture for now, and we'll come back. But basically, the Gemara talks about the words on the page, on the line. So it could be if you wrote 2 words, then 3 words, then 1 word, that would be valid. It would look like a poem, like a shira. So that would be valid. I'll get to that picture in a second. Or another opinion is it's not valid, or maybe only in a Sefer Torah. Then you can't take a regular verse and put it in and write it like a song, meaning in those brick formation. But maybe for a mezuzah it would be okay. It cannot be 1 word, 2 word, 3 word, where it looks like a pyramid. That is not okay. It also can't be the opposite: 3 words, 2 words, 1 word. Okay, now when you write the mezuzah, it ends with al haaretz, the words on the land, and then the question is, where do you put those 2 words? So it needs to be on its own line. The question is it at the beginning of the line or at the end of the line? And there's a machloket where it would be. And the Gemara explains that this verse is speaking about long life. Therefore, the word should be close to the end of the line, because above it says the word shamayim, right, the heavens, and therefore the idea is, right, you should live long on this world, and like it's hinted at when the words are underneath each other. Or maybe the opposite, have it far away from shamayim to show that you will live in this world for a long time. Okay, when you write the mezuzah on 1 piece of parchment, and then you roll it from left to right. The way the Gemara says is from echad till shma, right? Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem echad, and then you roll it from echad back to shma, from left to right. And it's written all in 1 paragraph, and it's written on duchsustus, which is a name of the parchment. Basically, a hide, it has different layers, and there's different names to each layer. So the layer that you're supposed to write the mezuzah on is the part that is closest to the hair, as opposed to klaf, which is on the inside of the, again, if you're thinking about skin, right? So it would be on the, again, on the inside, that's the klaf, that's parchment. Daf 32 tells us that you need to leave a space. Yes, it's like epidermis. It's the sides of the skin. So it would all be epidermis, but which side do you write on, the hair side or on the inner side? There needs to be a space at the top and on the bottom, and that it's a and then we say that actually it's a minhag that you write it satum, meaning you write it all in one paragraph. And then the question is it a mitzvah to write it this way? But if you leave it like as two separate paragraphs, is it okay? And they say it is valid, but it is better to write it in one whole paragraph. Now, we have three things that are written on parchment: a Sefer Torah, a Torah scroll, tefillin, and mezuzah, all of which we're going to talk about. So, I mean, last time we spoke about Sefer Torah, today's mezuzah and tefillin. Now, you can't take the parchment that is used for Sefer Torah and tefillin and make it into a mezuzah, because the idea is the mezuzah is a lower level of sanctity, of kedusha, and as we know, we only go up in holiness and not down in holiness, right? Ma'alim bekodesh velo moridim. Okay, now how we know all the details about mezuzah and about tefillin are all a tradition that we have from Moshe, right? What's called halacha leMoshe miSinai. It's a law that was passed down and was shown or given to Moshe. What is this law? That tefillin have to be on klaf. Again, klaf is on the inner surface of the hide. Mezuzah needs to be on duchsustus, which is on the other side. However, it could be written on klaf if you wanted to. There's a machloket if you switch what they're written on, if it's valid, or maybe it is invalid. Another law about mezuzah is that it needs lines, what's called sirtut. Sirtut is that they would almost like engrave. It's they don't draw the line, but they like engrave a line, like almost like scratch is a good word. Scratch the line into the parchment, and so that's called sirtut. Mezuzah needs this, and tefillin does not need it. And therefore, the Gemara says, how could you make, tefillin out of a mezuzah or vice versa if they are written in different ways? For a mezuzah, you do not need to copy the text, because it's Shema, and most people know the text by heart. Scoring is good. That's another good word, much better. Thank you. I like the group effort here. All right. So again, for mezuzah or tefillin, you do not have to copy the text, as opposed to a Sefer Torah. You do need to copy the text. Okay, now we were talking about Sefer Torah. The Gemara talks about the sanctity of a Sefer Torah. You're not allowed to sit on a bed that has a Sefer Torah on it. Another opinion is maybe it would be okay. If you wrote a mezuzah, like a letter, meaning you just wrote it and you weren't very careful about it, it is invalid, because it is similar to writing a Sefer Torah, and it needs to be done intentionally. If you put the mezuzah hanging off of the door, right? It says to put it on the doorpost. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if it's not on the doorpost, it is invalid, right? It says bisha'arecha, on your gate. It has to be on the doorpost. And it's dangerous if you put it in the wrong place. And also, you do not get the mitzvah. You have to put it again on the door frame, daf 33. You might have thought that you put it on the like the outside of the door frame, right? Let's say if a door goes like this, right, instead of putting it on the frame like this, you might think that you have to put it, facing the outside of the doorpost. The Gemara says no, it has to be in the doorpost, meaning on the inner surface of the doorpost. Okay. Again, also, hold on a minute. Where do you put the mezuzah? Okay, so in the days of the Mishnah and the Gemara, doors had the door itself had a peg at the top and on the bottom, and that would go into the floor and the top, and then the door would swing on that, I guess, hinge, or on that pivot where the peg is. So the mezuzah has to go where, right, on the right side of that doorway, right? It's placed on the right side of when you enter into the room, and this depends on where the hinge is. Okay, so now let me here. So here the Gemara shows. Hold on. Okay, so the Gemara shows like there was like a hinge on the side of the door. And that is where the mezuzah would, that was where it would go. So then there's a story of Rebbe's mezuzot. They were like a bolt and they were flat on the doorpost. And speaking of Rebbe's doors, so the door to Rebbe's study actually did not have a mezuzah. The question is why? The Gemara explains that it was a private entrance that most people did not use, and therefore they only put a mezuzah on the public entrances, but not the private entrance. Okay, where does the mezuzah go? Right, it goes on the beginning of the top third of the door. So again, the doorway is divided into three, and when you get to the top section, I guess you can call it the bottom of that top section is where the mezuzah needs to go. Or maybe it's saying it can't be in the top part of the doorway, the top tefach or the lower tefach, but otherwise maybe anywhere else it would be okay. The Gemara says no. Another opinion is that it needs to be like tefillin, just like tefillin. Again, we're going to make a lot of comparisons between mezuzah and tefillin because they are in the same paragraph, right? We learn them from the same psukim. So just like the tefillin needs to be placed on top, right on top of the person's head, so too the mezuzah is placed towards the top of the doorway. It's a mitzvah to put it as close to the public domain as possible so that people see it right away. What is the goal of the mezuzah, right? The mezuzah guards our house. And the Gemara says, look how amazing God is, because in general, the people, the subjects, would normally be outside to protect the king on the inside. But in Judaism, the king, meaning God, is on the outside and he protects the people who are on the inside, which is a really, I think, a beautiful idea. If you put the mezuzah a tefach deep into the doorpost, that would be that is invalid. It needs to be on the surface of the door. If there is an opening behind the door, so if it has a tefach, it needs another mezuzah, meaning the mezuzah is placed on all doorways in our house. I think some people feel that or think that it only goes on the maybe the main entrance of the house, but some people don't realize that the mezuzah goes on every doorway in the house, not to the bathroom, but other doorways, they are placed there. What about if a room has here there is like a corner, the house, right, the room has like two doors that are in the, oh, hold on, make it a little bit bigger. So if it has two doors, and so the question is, what do we do with this? So so it talks about it's a double post, and you put the mezuzah on that doorpost that's on the right hand side. What about if you have like a reed door frame? So you can put a slit in the reed and then put the mezuzah, like you kind of stick it into the door frame, which is very easy. It's not wood. That would be valid, but you can't put the mezuzah in the reed and then put it up as the doorpost, right? The idea here is, and we've had this in other laws as well, the Hebrew term, the term is ta'aseh velo min ha'asui, which means that you have to make, right? Again, you have to put the mezuzah on your doorpost. You can't put the mezuzah on a piece of wood and then hang it up on your door, right? You have to hang up the mezuzah on the doorpost. The same thing with sukkah and schach and things like that. If the doorway doesn't have the lintel, the top part, or doesn't have any sides, it does not need a mezuzah. If you have an open area that has like a roof and then just like sticks or poles, so that does not need a mezuzah, because again, there are no walls in that area. That's called an achsadra. So the achsadra of Rav had 4 walls that didn't reach the roof, but it did have walls. So therefore, it does need a mezuzah. If the walls are full of windows, it still needs a mezuzah. It's not about the thickness of the wall. The Beit Sha'ar, the gatehouse, that usually had 2 doors, one into the courtyard and one into a house. You need 2 mezuzot, meaning one on each one of the doorways. If it had 2 doors, one into a garden and one into a room, so it does, the one that goes into the room needs a mezuzah. There's a machluket if the door that goes into the garden doesn't need a mezuzah. Another opinion is no, everybody agrees that the doorway going to the garden does not need a mezuzah, and it's a machluket about the room. Maybe the Beit Sha'ar is really for the garden, and therefore it does not need a mezuzah. Okay, daf 34. Let's say you have a house, and there's an opening between the main floor and the next floor, the second floor, and that has, let's say it's another apartment upstairs, but there's actually a hole in the floor with doors. So that needs, let's say there's a door from the downstairs and there's a door from the upstairs. Each one of those needs a mezuzah. Even if there's another doorway leading out of the apartment or house. If there are 4 openings into a room, all of them need a mezuzah, even though it's only, even if one is used more than the other one, you still need to you still need a mezuzah on all of those things. Okay, let's say you have an opening in the corner of the room. So that does need a mezuzah. But the Gemara says, but wait a minute, there's no door frame. So it says, yeah, there is a door frame because the end of the wall is the door frame, right? Even if it doesn't have an exact frame on the door. If there's only one doorpost, so then that's a machloket if it needs a mezuzah. Okay, so it says beitecha. So we say bi'atcha, right? When you enter. So when you enter the room, then when you enter the room, the mezuzah needs to be on the right hand side, right? Therefore, there needs to be a doorpost on the right. This is learned from Yehoyada, who put a box on the right side of the mizbeach to collect money. This was actually last week's haftorah for Parshat Shkalim. So you see that things are, right, people are aware of things that happen on the right hand side. The mezuzot, again, we said it needs to have two doorposts, or maybe not necessarily, maybe you only need one doorpost. Okay, it says that it needs to be written on the doorpost. So you might have thought that you need to write on the doorpost, which is exactly what the people who don't accept the oral Torah, people who only understand or consider the written Torah. So they actually, so like, let's say like the Shomronim, which is a sect that lives here in Israel, the Samaritans, they actually write the psukim of Shema on the door, right? Not in a mezuzah. We say no, we learn it from get, just like get needs to be written on a cloth, right, on parchment, so too the mezuzah needs to be written on parchment. Maybe we can learn from the fact that the Torah needed to be written after the Jewish people came into Israel. They wrote the Torah on a stone. So maybe we learn from there that you actually write it on the doorpost. We say, no, that was a one-time event, whereas get is something that is done, many times. And in general, when we say something is written, it is written on parchment. It says that, right, the uchtavtem, it needs to be complete written, like it has to be completely written, and then you put it on the doorpost. Okay, now let's go to tefillin. Okay, tefillin, phylacteries, you cannot miss even one letter of the tefillin, or even part of a letter, and you need the parchment to be on all sides. Okay, let's talk a little bit about tefillin. Okay, first of all, there are different parts to the tefillin. Let's take a step back. There are two tefillin, right? One is called shel rosh. One is put on the head, and one is shel yad. It's put on the arm. We're going to discuss all the details. The tefillin themselves have different parts. So there's the box that's on top, which sits like, looks like a platform. And then there's the part in the back where the strap goes through. Now, another thing that's important to understand. Oh, I brought you this picture. Okay, let me see if you can see the picture. Hold on. Okay, here. If you can see here in the middle, there's the tefillin of the yad is one compartment, and they write sorry, let's take a step back. Tefillin have 4 parshiyot, 4 different paragraphs that are written in the tefillin. When they're writing the tefillin shel yad, it's one cloth, one parchment with all 4 parshiyot. It's rolled up and it's placed inside the box. However, for the rosh, you can see here in the picture. Can you see the picture? It has actually 4 compartments. Each compartment has its own parsha, right? Meaning each one gets a separate cloth, a separate parchment is put inside. Okay, so the Gemara tells us that it says litotafot, and it's written sometimes with a vav and sometimes without a vav, and therefore, here's a good way to see that it's 4 compartments is for the rosh, 1 compartment for the hand, right? So we learn totafot for, again, 4 times. It's really twice are written without a vav, so that's 1 plus 1, and then totafot with a vav is double, so it's 2, so 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. So it's 4 compartments. They're written on 4 separate parchments and put into the 4 separate compartments. Now, the let me see if I brought you a picture. Wait, no, hold on. Wait, I don't know if you can see here. Wait, hold on a minute. This picture. Can you see this picture on the left-hand side? It's basically one piece of hide, of leather, and it's formed into 4 compartments, but it's one piece of leather, and it's formed like that, and then it's squeezed together to give you this over here on this side, right? So when you see these 4 like compartments, it really is one piece of leather that was bent into these 4 compartments. Okay, now the tefillin shel rosh is 4 compartments. Tefillin shel yad is 1 compartment. Now, if you don't have the 1 shel yad and you only have 2 shel rosh, you can like cover it so that it looks like it's 1 compartment, and then it would be okay. The rosh is seen as a higher level of sanctity because, oh, sorry, 1 second. Wait, I lost you. A higher level of sanctity because of these 4 compartments. Okay, now we're going to get into the machloket of what, okay, everyone agrees on the 4 sections that are written in the tefillin. So we have Shema, V'haya im shamoa, and then there is V'haya ki aviacha, and Kadesh li kol bavchor. Those are the 4 different sections. The machloket between, I don't know if you've heard this, but there's a machloket between Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, what the order should be. So if you can see here on top, there's actually 4 different, but the 2 main ones are here. The machloket is the order. So one opinion is that because it says Kadesh li v'haya ki aviacha should be on the right, and Shema and v'haya on the left. And then the question is, what does that mean on the right and on the left? So it could be that, are you looking at it from outside and looking at the person? Rashi says it just goes from right to left, right? So it's Kadesh li v'haya, Shema v'haya, and it's in that order. Rabbeinu Tam says it works in from the right and from the left. So Kadesh v'haya, and then Shema on the other side, and v'haya im shamoa. So it works going in. If you switch it in the rosh, it is invalid. Daf 35 tells us that maybe it depends which one you switch. Like if you switch the outer for the outer, it would be okay, and the inner for the inner would be okay. But if you switched it the other way, like in for out, that would not be okay. All right, that is that. And then here, that, yes, exactly, right, Ilanit is mentioning why some people actually own two pairs of tefillin. Sometimes they put one on after the other, sometimes they wear both, but the idea is they want to make sure that they are keeping to the law in depending on what the actual law is, because we're not exactly sure. Rashi explains that after the parshiyot are put into the compartments, the leather is folded over and then closes it up like a bridge. And the place that the strap goes through and creates, and the fact that it has a shin, you see how it has a shin on the front of the box, all of that is halacha l'Moshe misinai. Again, and that there's the groove. All of these things are essential components for the tefillin. Here you see the groove where the strap goes through. You have to make sure that the cloth doesn't have any holes and that it's not missing any letters. The straps need to be black. They need to be made of leather, like the boxes. The Gemara talks about there are different people who had different types of straps, but the Gemara says no. We say that they have to be leather and they have to be black. Some people say that maybe they could be a different color on the inside. They have to be square. They can't be round because it's also dangerous. Also, it is the halacha. Here, this picture shows what if there's like a hole in, oh, sorry about that, 1 second. What if there's a hole in between the compartments of the tefillin? So again, depending where the hole is, if it's from on the outside, then it's okay. If it's on the inside, maybe it's not okay. If the wall between two compartments has a hole, that's invalid. Maybe if it's old, it's okay. But if it's new, it is not okay. The binding needs to be complete. It can't be tied. It can't be sewn. The straps need to be, they need to hang down. The Gemara talks about what you do. Oh, hold on a second. The Gemara talks about the straps, how they look. Right, the straps actually make the knot in the back, make the letter Dalid, and there's a shin on the box, and they also make a yud, and that is Shem Hashem. Shin, Dalid, and yud is another name of God. And the Gemara describes that God shows Moshe the knot, basically the back of his tefillin, right? So there's this image that God is also wearing tefillin. The knot needs to be high on the head and in the back at the base of the skull, like equal to the face, right? Because the Gemara says, Bnei Israel, the Jewish people, need to be high and not low. Okay, we are going to they make up the men when they put on tefillin. Make a bracha on the tefillin, and you make it when you put on the tefillin, or maybe you put it on, you make the bracha before. The Gemara says no, you put them on, but before you tie them, you make the bracha. Daf 36 says if you speak in between the two tefillin, so then you have to say another bracha. Okay, there are two brachot when you put on the yad first. You put on the one on the hand first, and you say Baruch Atah Hashem ve'asher kidishanu b'mitzotav tzivanu lehaniach tefillin, to put on tefillin. When you put on the one on the head, you say Al Baruch Atah Hashem, and then Al mitzvat tefillin, on the mitzvah of tefillin. Okay, as we said, you first put on the one on the arm and then the one on the head. But when you take them off, you take off the one on the head and then the one on the arm, right? It says, "Vayu letotafot bein einecha." It should be between your eyes. The Gemara says it's not between your eyes, rather it's on the top of your head, okay, 1 second. And then when do you put on tefillin, or when do you make the bracha? During the daytime, sunrise. If you put them on in the dark, you do not make a bracha. And then when the sun comes up, so then you make a bracha. Then there's a machloket at the end of the day. Again, in the time of the Mishnah and the Gemara, people wore their tefillin. They wore their tefillin all day, and therefore the question is, when do they take it off? One opinion is they take them off. One is when they take them off at sunset. The other is at night when everybody comes home, and the last one is before you go to sleep. There's a machloket if the nighttime is the time for tefillin. And when you take it off, everyone agrees that if you take it off to go to you take it off to go to the bathroom, and if you took it off to go to the bathroom and when you came out it was nighttime, everyone agrees you do not put it back on. There's also a machloket if you wear them on Shabbat, right? We paskin, you don't wear it at night and you don't wear it on Shabbat. Okay, we say that you need to, again, if they're wearing their tefillin all day, they have to like touch it to remind themselves that they are wearing tefillin. Again, nowadays, men do not wear tefillin all day. They just wear them for davening in the morning. Okay, it says yadcha. Put it on your arm. The Gemara says yadcha means the left arm. This is because there are various psukim, verses, that say put it on your arm, and with your right arm, no. So if you have arm and right arm, it seems to imply that arm means left arm. Another way to understand is yadcha. Yad kehe, your weak arm, and since most people are righties, I'm a lefty, but okay, most people are righties, therefore their weak arm is their left arm. What if a person does not have a left arm? They are exempt from tefillin. However, if they do have a left arm, but it was injured, they still need to put on tefillin. My friend sent me an article yesterday about a lot of soldiers after October 7th in this war lost many limbs, and there are a lot of discussions how people should put on their tefillin, including my cousin Ari Spitz very famously asked Rav Rimon and Rav Asher Weiss how to put on his tefillin, because he lost one arm and a hand, and the question is how do they put on tefillin? The country actually developed a contraption that helps amputees put on their tefillin. It's unbelievable. That is again, literally written here in the Gemara on daf 37. Lefties will put the tefillin on their right arm, or another opinion is no, they put it on their left arm like everybody else. The Gemara says no, that's only if you're ambidextrous. If you're ambidextrous, you should put it on your left arm, but if you're a lefty, you put it on your right arm. You put it on the upper arm, on the bicep. The idea is that we'll talk about in a second. And we said bein einecha doesn't mean on your forehead. It means at the top of your head, basically where the infant's like fontanelle, the soft spot is, that's where you put it. The Gemara asks, what if somebody has two heads? Which head do they put their tefillin on? The Gemara is like, right, the rabbi is like, you need to leave my class right now. You're just, making things up. And then the next line is, a guy came and said, I just had a baby and it was born with two heads. What do I do for pidyon haben? So interesting. I don't know if the Gemara is making fun or the Gemara is being serious. So that is, interesting. We said on the bicep, they say maybe yadcha means you should put it on your hand. And we say no, it needs to be on the highest part of the arm, just like it's on the highest part of the head. It has to be, right, lechaot. It is a sign for you and nobody else. The idea is that when you put it on your arm, it's like hidden by your sleeve, and therefore it's like I don't want to say secret, but it's like an oath, a sign for you. Right. Another idea is that it says al livavchem, on your heart. So another idea is that if it's on your left bicep, it's opposite your heart. Okay. Again, maybe you might think that the tefillin shel rosh should be between your eyes. We say no, it needs to be above. Okay, then the Gemara goes on to tzitzit. We said that all four tzitzit are important. There's a machloket if it's 4 mitzvot or 1 mitzvah. The Gemara asks what's the difference if it's 4 or 1, and then gives a whole list of scenarios, right? If it's missing a corner, so then if it's all 1 mitzvah, you're still doing it, and if it's not, then you're not. If it's all 1 mitzvah, then you're not doing the mitzvah because it's missing something, and therefore it would be shatnez, right? Because you have linen and wool. Another opinion is case is if you have a 5-cornered garment, does it need 4 tzitzit or 5? Right? Is it about the corner? Is it about 4? If you tie up one of the corners because you don't want to put tzitzit, that doesn't work, and it still needs tzitzit. The halacha is that it is 1 mitzvah and not 4 separate mitzvot. Mar Barav Ashi's garment, when he was walking, the corner got ripped off, and this was on Shabbat, and they didn't tell him till he got home, and then he got very upset. He said, why didn't you tell me? I would have taken off. Sorry, let me take a step back. If the tzitzit are not valid, it's as if you're carrying on Shabbat, which is problematic if you don't have an eruv. So he got very upset. He said, why didn't you tell me? I would have taken off my tzitzit right there and then on the street. And they said, no, the idea of what's called in Hebrew kavod habriot, the human dignity is more important than carrying on Shabbat. We didn't want you to have to take off your clothing in the middle of the street, and therefore we didn't tell you that you were carrying till you got home, and then we told you. And then he replied back, no, you should have told me, and that that would not have been an issue, and you should have told me. With that, we finish the third chapter of Masechet Menachot. I'm happy we have a few minutes, so if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But those were our tangents. So again, we did Sefer Torah, mezuzah, tefillin, and tzitzit. So we got a little bit of a, I don't want to say a break, but definitely a different topics to keep this masechet going. Okay. Yes. Yes, Ilanit.
Yeah, amazing job as always, just incredible. The information. So a lot of this I'd studied the tefillin and things like this in depth years ago. I never saw everything in its context, exactly where we find it. This was spectacular. But also it just then suddenly, again, fresh eyes. It's like, wait a minute. So that shin that's being described, that shin, the 3 and the 4-legged and all, but that is being pressed into the leather along with the other things they're constructing. And so really doesn't, and it's as Moses commanded and received from Sinai. So all this discussion about the font, Asher font or other fonts for all of these, the discussions. I guess we really can't question what was on the tefillin right there at Sinai as the design. The shin was shaped like that, which is the square font, the Asher or whatever. I mean, that to me, that just really stood out. And of course, they didn't deviate to go into discussing that at all, which is fine. But you know how people talk about that. Well, we don't know if Moses actually wrote in the square font, or maybe Ezra put it into the square font, or we don't know about the tablets and blah blah. I guess we know about the tefillin, right? I mean, they're leaving no room. They're saying this is what Moshe saw. Along with the Dalet, I'd heard that before, being, this is what Hashem showed him right there. So we're not gonna wonder about how to tie the knot, sort of a thing. But that just really struck me. I mean, I guess I can be, would you say, absolutely rock solid on the font that was on the head, the rosh tefillin.
Yeah, I mean that's the implication of the Gemara. Yes.
I mean, they take themselves pretty serious. I mean, I can't see, has never heard where we should doubt and we should say, well, they're just giving over, something that happened later on and they're sticking to it. They are saying this was at Har Sinai.
Yes, meaning the
Either you believe
idea
it or you
is
don't.
right.
I'm going to
The
believe
idea
it.
is that's the concept of halacha Moshe Sinai. This is a tradition that it's not written down in the Torah, but something that was passed down all the way down through the generations. That is the concept. And even though there's no written source for it, right, it doesn't say in the Torah, this is how you should do it, and it needs a box, and it needs to be black, none of those things are written in the Torah, but that is part of our oral tradition, and that's something that we believe in, and we trust in that the transmission of that tradition.
Right. I'm very interested in fonts, being a writer and musician and all these things. So I'm always very interested in the veracity of the
Yes.
earliest fonts, proto, or whatever.
Yes.
But
Yes.
there's no room for the proto Hebrew
No.
on the tefillin. They tied to exactly, again, how it's all done in the skin, in the leather, all in one process, and has always been done that way. So that means the shin was drawn that way originally. I'm just excited about that. Just saying.
Yeah, amazing. Yes.
I wanted to say also the Yemenites, when they say Shema, I know the Ashkenazim say it like this, but the Yemenites say it like this. And the thing is that the three fingers in the middle are the shin, and consider where your thumb and pinky, considering your eyes, you have a dalet and a yud. So then you have, they say Shema till the, and then they kiss them together, all 5 fingers.
I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And
Thank you.
Chodesh Tov. Happy Adar. Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. We should just be happy and have only good news. And Be'ezrat Hashem, see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
From now on, Tuesdays.